Hello, everybody, and welcome to this webinar introducing the new personalised results for pre-A1 starters, A1 movers and A2 flyers. I'm Lynn Stevenson, and I'm the Cambridge English Qualifications Content Lead for the exams for young learners. And I'm joined today by Amy Devine.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy. I'm a Senior Research Manager here at Cambridge Assessment English, and among other things, I conduct research investigating the impact of our exams on learning and teaching, with a particular focus on the school sector and exams like pre-A1 starters, A1 movers and A2 flyers. Okay, in today's webinar, we'll be covering the following points. We'll start off by explaining why we decided to change the results reporting, and we'll take you through a statement of results in detail. We will then talk you through what the results actually mean. We will describe ways in which you can use the feedback on the statement of results to support further teaching and learning. And we'll also show you how the statement of results can be used by parents to understand their child's progress. Finally, we'll show you how you can access the new statement of results. So you are likely very curious to know how the results reporting is changing and why we have decided to do this. The first thing to note is that the certificate itself isn't actually changing. Candidates will still get a certificate celebrating their achievements in shields, with a maximum of 5 shields for each part of the test: reading and writing, listening, and speaking. The certificate is designed to celebrate the student's achievement and reward them for their success. There is no pass or fail, as it's very important for young learners taking these exams to be motivated and to show what they can do. However, market research has shown us that schools, teachers, and parents want results available more quickly. They want to access results online, and they want results with more detailed feedback. Having established these customer needs, we had to consider the best approach to giving feedback. When designing a test, it is best practice to start by considering the intended outcomes or the impact that a test and results reporting will have. The test should then be designed to be fit for purpose and achieve the intended outcomes. For the pre-A1 starters, A1 movers, and A2 flyers tests, the intended outcomes are a sense of achievement among the children learning English and motivation to continue. For teachers, support both in helping to teach practical skills and in understanding their learners' progress. But parents also want to understand how well their child is doing. So these intended outcomes are the basis of the changes made to how results are reported. We considered different options for reporting results. One of these was providing numeric scores. This was popular with some of the customers we surveyed, but the majority felt that pre-A1 starters, A1 movers, and A2 flyers are primarily designed to be child-friendly and fun and provide positive encouragement. Therefore, we decided not to use numeric scores, which can put more emphasis on competitiveness than on individual achievement. It was considered essential to continue to have no pass or fail. The new statement of results is designed, therefore, to support learning. The feedback focuses on what learners have shown they can do and what they are still mastering, and it gives practical suggestions on how to move forward. This information is personal to individual candidates. Now let's look at the information on the new statement of results in more detail. At the top, the number of shields that the child has achieved is shown. Then there is information on the child's strengths and the different skills. Don't worry if you can't read the text here, as we will look at examples in more detail later. The statement of results also shows things for the child to work on. This child was very strong and got 5 shields in all parts of the exam, but there's still room for improvement, so there are some things to work on listed here. Importantly, a child who doesn't do very well and gets only 1 shield will still get a strength to help motivate them, and the wording of the statements is also designed not to demotivate learners. Finally, there are practical suggestions for how to improve to support parents and teachers in helping the child to progress further. Let's have a quick poll. Do you think the type of feedback shown on the statement of results is more useful than numeric scores? You need to choose yes or no. So rather than writing in the chat, you should see now that there's a poll. So I'll say that question again. Is the type of feedback in the new statement of results more useful than scores? Yes or no? Okay, that looks like the majority are selecting yes there. So yeah, we're talking about 95% of you choosing yes. Okay, over to Lynn.
Hello everyone. That's good to know that you feel that the feedback we're giving on the new statements of results is more useful than the scores. And now we're going to have a look at what the results actually mean. The information on the back of the statements of results is the same as the back of the certificate. And this information is here to provide understanding of what the shields mean. The back of the certificate was updated when the exams were revised in 2018, and there are 2 parts. The top part has a table which shows how shields at pre-A1 starters, A1 movers, and A2 flyers line up with each other, and then also how A2 flyers and A2 key for schools line up together too. How all these tests match up on the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, the CEFR, and to the Cambridge English Scale is also shown in this table. Below this, there are some can-do statements for each of the 3 levels. And that's here to help interpret in a practical way what it means to be at each of those levels, pre-A1, A1 and A2, and to provide support, especially for those who may not be familiar with the CEFR. Now, let's look at the top part of the table in more detail. The table gives a visual representation that helps to understand progression as learners move through the levels and how the shields align to the CEFR levels. All children will receive between 1 to 5 shields, each for the reading and writing, for listening and for speaking. A score of 4 or 5 shields for each component in A1 movers means the child has achieved the target level of A1. And a child scoring 3 shields for any of the components in A1 movers is at the same level as a child scoring 5 shields in the same component in A1 starters, in pre-A1 starters. And so we can see there the way that this progression through pre-A1 up to A2 is made. One of the challenges with the new statement of results was making sure that they were accessible, particularly to parents who may not speak much English, and to the learners themselves. To overcome this, we have ensured that the information is not only easy to understand, but it is also available in 7 languages other than English. This is an example of the strengths a candidate received in Spanish. The layout is the same as the English version, and users will be able to see both languages, English and Spanish. Both the front and back of the statements have been translated. Having easy to understand and accessible information on results like this is important to supporting further learning. And you may well be thinking now, well, what are these 7 languages which are available? And here they are. They're available in French, Italian, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, Turkish, and Vietnamese. And this is quite a special day for us because this morning we released our first bilingual statement of results in Italian for candidates who had taken their exams early in September. And so that was a real milestone for us. Now, these bilingual statements of results will be issued to all candidates in the relevant countries. There will be Spanish for Spain and for most of Latin America, and Portuguese for Brazil and for Portugal. Some countries chose just to have English, and while we haven't been able to provide every language, teachers can help learners and their parents to understand the statements of results if a bilingual version is not available. Let's look now in more detail at how the personalised feedback works. The shields that the candidate receives shows their overall achievement in a skill, but to provide more detailed feedback, these skills need to be broken down into sub-skills. Different parts of the exam are designed to assess different sub-skills. There is often more than one task assessing the same sub-skill, sometimes in different papers, and assessing both receptive and productive skills. Here are some examples from the different levels. For pre-A1 starters, the example sub-skill is understanding basic descriptions, with performance in part 2 and part 4 of the reading and writing paper being used to show if the child has acquired this sub-skill. For A1 movers, performance in part 4 of the reading and writing paper and part 1 of the listening paper demonstrate the acquisition of the sub-skill understanding grammar and vocabulary knowledge accurately. Of course, this is grammar and vocabulary at the level A1 and pre-A1. Moving on to A2 flyers, performance from 3 parts of the test, from the reading and writing part 1 and from the listening parts 1 and 5, all feed into demonstrating that the child can understand descriptions. And again, these are descriptions at the level A2 and A1. Let's look now in more detail at how the personalised feedback works. If we take a closer look at some of the tasks and the sub-skills they demonstrate, we can see what sub-skills they share. So here we're going to look at 3 different tasks from pre-A1 starters, and we can have a look at the testing focus and therefore which sub-skills these 3 parts of the test are concerned with. Here's the first one. Pre-A1 starters reading and writing part 3. Now, in this part of the reading and writing test, the child has to identify the name of the object or animal which is illustrated and write out the name using the jumbled letters given. So, do you have any ideas on what sub-skill this is designed to test? If you think you know, type in your answer in the chat box, and then we'll move on into the second task in a couple of minutes, which has the same testing focus. So if you do feel you know what the testing focus is now, just type in what you think this is all about in the chat box. Okay, and we're getting responses for spelling and vocabulary. Yes. Understanding, lexis, vocabulary, spelling. Yes, a lot of you are coming in with vocabulary and spelling. Okay, now let's move on to the second of these tasks which share the same sub-skill. This is the reading and writing task part 5 from Starters. In this part of the test, the child has 5 questions to answer, which are all based on what they can see in 3 pictures. All the responses need 1 word. Now, as I said, this task is testing the same sub-skill. What sub-skill do you think it is? If you've changed your mind and you've already put one in, please type in your new ideas. Or if you've got some ideas, please type in your ideas now, and we'll move very shortly onto the 3rd task. Okay, so comprehension and spelling, observing and writing. We're getting a lot of your ideas in. Okay, so this is the 3rd one, and it's from the listening paper, part 2 of the listening. Testing the same sub-skills, and to complete this task, the child must listen to a short dialogue and answer 5 questions. The responses to these questions are either single words, all of which are spelt, or a number from 1 to 10. So if you think you know what the sub-skill is, or you've got some ideas on this, please type in your answer on the chat box. And I know many of you, we've had lots of responses for this. I know many of you have done that already. Okay, so thank you for all of your ideas. And then let's see how the testing focus is expressed in the statements. All of these 3 tasks are assessing writing words and spelling at pre-A1 starters level. On the slide, you can see an example statement of the sub-skill writing words and spelling, and there's also an area to improve on and an activity to try out. The advice on how to improve in this sub-skill is to practice writing English letters that you hear, the child hears, and spelling some very simple English words. And an activity to try out is when you see an English word, can you say all of the letters in that word? We can see then that the descriptors on the statement of results are therefore based on how children perform in different parts of the exam, and these parts can have a similar testing focus. Let's now look at an example in practice. This child took A1 movers and she got 4 shields in the reading and writing and in the speaking papers. If we look at the back of the statement, we can see that she is at A1 level in these skills, with 4 shields lining up to level A1. Now, in listening, this child got 3 shields, and so she is at pre-A1 level in this skill. A child with this profile is likely or is ready to go on to prepare for flyers, but she may need some extra support in listening. And here is an example of a strength and something to work on, and a suggested idea on how to improve for this candidate. Her strengths are that she can describe things, tell basic stories, and answer questions about herself using very simple English. She could work on understanding very simple spoken English descriptions about people and things, and she can improve by using songs. Okay, and now back to Amy.
Thanks, Lynn. Okay, let's now look at how the feedback on the statement of results can be used to support further teaching and learning. A key part of teaching is setting goals at the group and individual level and giving feedback to learners on how well those goals have been achieved. As children progress from pre-A1 starters through to A1 movers, A2 flyers and beyond, the statement of results can help you do this. In every class, different learners have different strengths and weaknesses. There may be some that are common for the whole class and some that are unique to individual learners. The first step is to try and identify strengths and weaknesses that are common to many students in the class. Let's look at a possible scenario in practice. Let's say you have reviewed the statements of results for your class and noticed that understanding spoken descriptions is a common problem for all the students who have recently taken A1 movers. You can use this feedback to set a goal for all your students to develop this subskill. This could be broken down further. For example, you could start by building students' vocabulary for describing people and their understanding of spoken descriptions of people before moving on to describing things. Your students took A1 movers, but given that understanding spoken descriptions is a common weakness, it is a good idea to consolidate their understanding at A1 movers level before they move on to preparing for A2 flyers. This subskill is assessed in the listening paper, particularly in A1 movers parts 3 and 5. In the Teacher Resource Finder on the Cambridge Assessment English website, you can find a set of lesson plans for each of the different parts of the exam, such as this one. They are designed to support teaching both in the classroom and online. As well as lesson plans, you can find many other free resources on the Cambridge Assessment English website. For example, you could use these flashcards to practice understanding descriptions. You could describe each of the pictures in a random order and have learners identify which picture you are describing. For example, this is an animal. It's big and brown and it lives in Africa, with the answer, of course, being lion. So that's just an example of how you could use those. If a common suggestion for improvement on the statement of results for your students is to develop their listening through songs, you can spend class time on songs. For example, you can find sing and learn videos on the Cambridge English website, which can be used in class or by the child at home. The videos come with activities for parents and teachers and help to make learning fun. Let's now look at supporting individual learners. Helping students to understand their strengths and weaknesses is a good way to help them to become more independent as learners. This is the same child we saw already. How can you help her work on these areas individually? Well, you can do so by using the feedback on the statements of results to help her set personal goals. Try to set aside some class time each week for children to focus on their goals and the areas they need to work on, or suggest some extra tasks for them to do at home. On cambridgeenglish.org, you can find short activities to help develop skills relating to the exams, including listening, such as this one on describing people and things. You could also ask this child to repeat the sing and learn activity on their own. You can also find free activities on other websites, such as the British Council's Teaching English website. If possible, let the child have some choice in what they do. For example, let them choose which song to listen to. And back to Lynn.
Thanks very much, Amy. Okay, now let's turn our attention to parents and how the feedback can help them understand their child's progress. And let's start with another poll. Please can you read the statement on the screen and then decide if you think it's true or false. And I'll also read this for you. So, parents aren't interested in the detail of their child's performance. They leave that to the teacher. They just want to know if their child is doing well. Is this true or false? So have a look at those sentences and in the poll, put in whether you think the statement is true or false. And I'll read that for you again. So parents aren't interested in the detail of their child's performance. They leave that to the teacher. They just want to know if their child is doing well. So true or false? And I'll just give you a few a little bit of time to complete the poll. Okay. And so this time, unlike our earlier poll, there is quite a division of ideas here. 59% of you are saying this is true and 40% are saying this is false. And of course, like learners, parents are all different, and for some, this statement is going to be true for them. We saw, though, at the beginning of the webinar, our market research told us that parents of learners taking pre-A1 starters, A1 movers and A2 flyers are generally very interested in knowing about their child's progress in more detail, and even if they don't speak English themselves, they're interested in helping their children do their best in English. When developing the statement of results, we did research with teachers, parents and learners to ensure that what we developed gave useful, easy to understand information that parents can access without needing a teacher to explain. The feedback is presented in a clear, simple style that is visually appealing. The text, as we've seen, is bilingual in many countries, and progress is shown on the table on the back in a very visual manner too. The can-do statements on the back also help to explain what the different CEFR levels mean in practical terms. In addition, by giving ideas on how to improve, parents know how to help their child progress further in English. The statement of results can be a great way to help you as a teacher explain more clearly to parents how their child is progressing with objective, meaningful and practical advice. While the certificate rewards the child's achievement, the statement of results gives a more complete picture of the child's development, and you can use it to help answer parents' questions and give them ideas for supporting their child at home. Further support for parents is provided through the resources on our website, cambridgeenglish.org, and you can guide parents towards these to help them further their child's learning and progression. Now let's get down to more practical considerations. How can the new statements be accessed? Until now, learners taking pre-A1 starters, A1 movers and A2 flyers have had to wait for their certificates to be delivered by courier to their exam centre, and then for their exam centres to send them to the school or directly to the candidate. Now, however, schools, candidates and their parents can directly access the statement of results online, and so they will be able to see them much faster. The certificates will still be sent to the centre. Schools and teachers can access the statements of results by logging in on the online results service for preparation centres. The exam administrator for your school should have access to this service, but if nobody does have this access, then please speak to your authorised exam centre to check that your school has been registered as a preparation centre. And what about parents? There is a different portal for candidate results that parents can access. The authorised exam centre can provide the ID number and the secret number necessary for parents to register for this site and then to access their child's results. This information will be on the confirmation of entry sheet which all candidates receive. And last of all, let's celebrate. When the certificates arrive, celebrate your learner's success by holding a certificate ceremony. Now, these may have to be virtual or socially distanced at the moment, but whatever way you are celebrating your candidate's success, you can find tools to help with that celebration on the Cambridge English website. These include congratulations videos, invitation templates for parents, congratulations posters, and much, much more. And so back now to Amy.
Thanks, Lynn. Okay, so that was quite a lot of information to take in. So it's a good idea for us to recap that information, especially for those of you that didn't join the webinar from the beginning, in case we missed anything. So pre-A1 starters, A1 movers and A2 flyers are designed to support learning and provide a positive experience that gives learners a sense of achievement. The new statements of results enhance the shields that candidates already receive for each part of the exam: speaking, listening, and reading and writing. Designed with a learning-first approach, the new statements of results provide personalised feedback on the candidate's strengths and areas to improve, as well as practical suggestions on how to improve. Best practice in teaching and assessment shows us that providing easy-to-understand practical information on performance is essential to support further learning and to build learners' confidence. The design of the statement of results is intuitive and accessible, with bilingual versions in many languages, so that parents and learners can easily understand them. The back of the statement of results, which is the same as the back of the certificate, has a visual representation of how the shields align to the CEFR level and to the Cambridge English scale. Can-do descriptors provide a more detailed understanding of what a learner is able to do at each CEFR level in the different skills. Cambridge English qualifications are designed to support step-by-step learning, and the new statement of results helps learners understand what they need to do as they move on to the next step of their language learning journey. Schools, parents, and learners can access the statement of results through our secure online results portals. This means that they will be able to access their results more quickly and won't have to wait for the certificate to arrive. And just a reminder, the certificates themselves aren't actually changing. Okay, so that's everything from us. Now we have some time for questions.
A couple of questions that have just come in. The first is there an age limit for these exams for young learners? And certainly these exams for young learners are appropriate for children from primary school through to the first years of middle school or junior high school. So they would be appropriate for children roughly between the ages of 5 to 11 or 12. The content is for young learners, for children, for these, but we don't dictate that this exam is the right exam for this age group and this exam is the right exam for another age group. It all depends on the individual child's cognitive development and how they are also progressing with English. So and there was another query about when the exams are available. Starters, movers and flyers are available on demand, and so that would be dependent on when the exam centres are able to organise these exams, but they are available 365 days of the year.
Someone has asked if certificates are supposed to be sent online now. Is it up to the school to print it out? Just a reminder, certificates still get sent to learners. That's right, isn't it, Lynn? It's the statement of results that are available online.
That's right, yes. So the certificates will still arrive at the exam centre as they always have done. The statements of the results will be available prior to that and online. Will the exams be available in Argentina? I think that depends at the moment on your local conditions. There was a question on online young learners exams, and that is something that we're not offering at the moment, but we will certainly be in touch with you when we do offer that. I think we're ready to finish the webinar now. I would like to thank you all so much for joining us and for your questions. The slides will be available after this webinar, and you will be able to watch the webinar again on YouTube. And thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It's been so great to have so many of you with us. Thank you.
Thanks also from me.